Okay, so the first area of improvement and improving the development plan would be my time control of activities. So I felt during the session when I was doing the actual timing of the activities, I felt like um, at times I was stalling and looking for ideas as I felt I didn't plan enough for the session to do. So say I would do it, I'd run through an activity where we'd practice handing off the baton. I felt like that would last longer than it did, so I felt like it would go on for a good 10 minutes, but it only ended up being 7. For those 3 extra minutes, it was pretty repetitive, and also induced tedium onto my participants as they constantly had to repeat stuff they'd already done and perfected in those 7 minutes. So I felt the time control of the activities was an area I need to improve, as it had a negative effect on the session as people became bored and the session became very repetitive. So, in a way I could improve this would be like saying, making sure the exact length of time was exactly what I wanted and the activity would last exactly that long, and being able to plan a session that lasted a certain amount of time, so activities that lasted 10 minutes, and the whole session lasting exactly 30 minutes, so the session isn't either too long, so we're rushing through it, or too short, so I'm looking for stuff to do and stalling. So I felt like that was a weakness, and that's an area to improve on, and that's how I can improve on in terms of the SMART target. So who does this area affect? It actually affects both me and the participants, because the participants will become very bored and tedious. Will have tedium if the time control of the activities is poor and the activities are too short for the session, because I'll constantly be looking for things to do which aren't actually fully planned, or I'll be repeating things and that'll become very boring for the participants. And it also affects me as a coach, as if the session isn't long enough and I'm looking for stuff to do, it might throw me off my teaching points. It might also be negative, as I'll be looking for stuff to do and it might not be like at the high level enough, and it just might just throw me off teaching completely, as I won't be able to concentrate on what I'm doing as I'm looking for the next thing to do. How could I improve this? I could improve this by observing and being mentored by an athletics coach. So an example would be going down to the Withdean track and observing coaches there, looking at how they control sessions, how they plan sessions out, and how they control the time of the session, so I could take notes, take pointers of that, practice myself, and then use those pointers and in my actual activities. So it's important by looking at other athletic coach. Why would this help? It would help to avoid tedium if the session is too short. It will also make the session flow better, as everything is perfectly planned out and I know when to do what and when to do what. So there's a nice flow to the session, and it will even more time will be spent on improving technique and having top quality drills than actually looking for other stuff to do. So more time will be spent on actual good workout instead of looking for other stuff to do which may not be as well planned. Okay, the next area of improvement and development is health and safety. So I felt during the session, I felt quite uncomfortable during the session, as I felt none of the me or my other coach wasn't actually set health and safety fully trained, like professionally trained. So I felt like this was a negative in my session, as I felt like if there was an incident or an accident, I wouldn't be able to fully help the people involved. So an example would be if someone was to slip on the grass or clash with another person, I felt like I wasn't fully trained and prepared to be able to help that person with their injury. So if there was an actual serious injury, this would be a negative and could cause problems, as I wouldn't be able to treat it as a coach. So that made me feel a bit on edge and a bit worried about coaching, as this could have happened. So an example would be, so how I improve this would be like to improve the actual safety of the sessions, improve my actual training. So to make sure there's like no serious problems during the session, and to also be able to plan a risk-free session to make sure the session is completely risk-free and there's no problems during it. To make sure all the checks are in place and to make sure I'm trained and fully prepared for any situation that I can treat and then carry on with the session. So this area of improvement, so who does it affect? It affects the participants in the session. So So if I'm not fully prepared or trained or haven't prepared a session that's safe, then this could have a negative impact, as people could get hurt, or there could be danger. So if I hadn't prepared for broken equipment and someone was to use it and then they were to cut their hands, that would be on me and my fault, and it would affect them, as I hadn't fully prepared for this incident. How would I improve this area? I would go on a level 1 first aid course. There are a couple courses they do in Brighton and Crawley. I could do this. I could pay for it. They cost around £100. I could go on this first aid course and pick up advanced training, and be able to have the abilities to treat advanced first aid and basic first aid, so it would make me feel more comfortable as a coach. So how would this help? It would help to be qualified and trained, as if there's any problems or situations with injuries, I'll be able to treat it, and there'd be no problems, and the session would just be a whole lot safer and avoid any problems. I would feel much safer and confident doing the session, and people will feel safer and comfortable doing the session, as they know I'm qualified and trained for it. Okay, so the final area of improvement was the control of the group. I felt during the session, me and my coach weren't the best at controlling the group. I felt like people had lapse in concentrations. People weren't always listening and learning, and all the time people dropped in and out of the session. It wasn't great, so I felt like I could improve as a coach in keeping everyone interested, concentrating, keeping everyone in line, and everyone listening to me, and keeping everyone's respect for me. So I do this by a target would be to have the whole group listening and behaving. This could be done for the whole 30 minutes of the session. It would also be good to make sure no one has to be disciplined. That could be a good achievement or target. It could have everyone behaving and concentrating for the whole 30 minutes is basically what I'm trying to say. And to be able to plan a session that's interesting, and to be an interesting coach and keep everyone interested by what I'm saying and the activities I'm doing, just stuff like that. So just stuff in the session and kind of more outside the session that could keep everyone interested. So having good rapport, good responses, making sure I'm authoritative but also fun as well. So just mixing up, being just a good quality coach in general could help. So who does this area actually affect? So it actually affects the participants in the session, as if they're not listening, then they aren't learning, and this could distract other people and just make the session not flow as well, and people might not pick up points and stuff, so it might not be as good of a session. It also affects me as a coach, as if people aren't listening to me, I can't get my points across, then I constantly have to keep breaking up, asking people to stop talking. Could put me off my flow and waste time during the session, which could be done for actually teaching and activities. How could I do this? I could get a level 1 coaching course. These are done in various places such as Brighton and Crawley, so I could go there. It costs around £100. It's a 6-week course, I believe, and it could just give me actual good qualifications on how to be a coach, good points and tips, and I'd actually be a trained, qualified coach. I could also observe other coaches, like I said previously in my first day of improvement. Just observe other coaches, see how they deal with problems, see how they control groups and stuff like that. So why would this be helpful to improve? It will make the session flow better, as I don't have to keep stopping and telling people off, and I can carry on just teaching. And it will improve communication and listening, so I will be better at communicating to other people, and people will be better at listening to me, as I'm interesting and also authoritative. And instead of wasting time having to tell people off, we'll just be concentrating on technique and improving that technique, and the session will just be a whole lot better in general.